Hello, welcome back to the channel. I'm Justin Gambrill, here to teach you another way that we can play some backups on the Dobro. If you remember my first video, which I entitled The Easiest Backup You'll Ever Play, and I do stand by that, we learned very simply, just slide into the chords. And that's very simple. It's very easy and adds so much to the music when you're playing behind a full instrumentation. But there's something else that we can do similar to that, and that is playing one note. So rather than going through all the chords, we might just pick out one note in the chord, and then you just hold it. Now, you may have heard that I played what I'd play under that same chord progression for both of those. But let me go into a little more detail on how we get there, because that doesn't sound like it would be great when I play it on its own. So this technique is actually somewhat just coming from the fiddle. I often talk about how the dobro is kind of that bridge that pulls pieces from all the different instruments. And this is one of the things that we actually can take from fiddle. Because fiddle doesn't always, and only in rarities, is playing a more rhythmic part. They like to add those little extra notes on top. And one thing that they're especially good at is that they have the bow. Now, I don't play fiddle, so I can't show you an example of it right now, but the bow lets them hold out a note for a really long time, and they get to just hold it. On the other instruments in bluegrass, we don't get to do that, because rather than bowing a string, we're plucking it with a pick. And it doesn't matter what I really do, when you pluck a note, it starts loud, and then it slowly fades over time. Fiddle gets to keep one note going the whole time. However, there's one thing that we are capable of doing on the dobro that helps that. If you heard how fast that note had kind of died out before, I can play it again using my steel. And it actually holds out a little longer. And in a song that's moving chords, you're not going to stay on one note that long anyway. And so we can use this to just add a little extra variation to what's going on without overpowering. So let's talk about how we do it. So we're going to be playing our chords just like anyone else would. Guitar's playing their boom chick, got a mandolin chopping, and we would standardly just play our full chord. And what we get to do is then we get to pick a note from that chord. If you know your arpeggios through music theory, that's what we're doing. If you don't know them, you're going to start learning them slowly, and hopefully you've maybe learned a little bit of that with me. But what we've got is our arpeggios in our chord. That's the beautiful thing about dobro, is that it's tuned to an arpeggio. That's the first, the third, and the fifth of our scale. So if we're in the G chord, it would be G, B, or D. And so what you're able to do is to just pick one of those, and then you play it. Or now, if you were able to see my hands there, I think you noticed I told you what the three notes were by playing open notes. But in practically doing this, I'm playing closed. And I do that for one big reason. I get to slide. As I talk about all the time with Dobro, and there's going to be another video coming that's going to talk about this concept just on its own. We like to slide in everything. That's what we do well. But also, rather than just holding the note static, which is a little boring, a little hard to quite get in tune, we're going to just move that slide back and forth just ever so slightly, and that's going to help the note ring out longer. It's going to sound nicer. It's going to sound actually more in tune, even if you're moving it slightly. So I always try to pick parts of the notes that are on closed. Normally you got to go down a string if we're playing in G. And so we're playing in G. I pick that G, the B, or the D. Then, just for our examples, as we're in the key of G here, we move up to C, which will be C, E, or G. Notice how even when I played that G there, I went down a bit and slid up, just because I've made that a natural habit as I'm playing these. Then when we go up to D, we've got D, F sharp, and A. Now, sometimes I'll play it up the neck, sometimes I play it down really close to open. Somewhat depends on what notes I'm around or what everyone else is doing. Sometimes playing a really high one sounds really nice. Sometimes playing something a little lower. So now that we have this general concept together, I'm going to take us through an example. This is All the Good Times Are Past and Gone. It's a slower, prettier song in 3/4 time. And I think this will act as a good example to see some of what we're getting at. I will play some single notes, and I might do a couple more things to make it sound a little more interesting, where we'll go over some of the more, where to take this after the example is done. So let's take a moment now and go check that out. I wish to the Lord I'd never been born or die when I was young. I never would see your sparkling blue eyes or hear your lying tongue. All the good times are past and gone. All the good times are old. All the good times are past and gone. Little darling, don't you weep no more. Little darling, don't you weep no more. So that's an example on how we can use this. I do think that it generally sounds much better in those prettier, quieter, more relaxed songs. Because some of the point of this technique is that you're making a lot out of a little. In moments where playing full chords or playing a lot of movement with a roll might feel a little overwhelming. And so we can use that to our advantage, and I like to believe I used it to my advantage. Your note choice becomes super important. The first, the third, and the fifth all sound very unique behind what else is going on. And in some songs, some of those are going to sound better. Under certain chords, some of those are going to sound better than others. And you will, over time, come up with what sounds good. And I recommend try all three. the thirds often sound really good in these prettier songs. In a song that's not as pretty, it doesn't always sound quite as good. Then we also notice how I played the notes. Sometimes I was right on the money. As soon as that chord changed, I was right on the new note. Sometimes the chord changed and I waited an extra beat or two before playing my note. And that is a way that you can still add extra movement with just a singular note. And then as you go to play the notes, your slides make a big difference. Is it a quick small slide, a slow small slide, a long slide? And how fast, how slow, how far you're moving, what note you're coming from, all makes a big difference. Sometimes if I'm making the bigger moves, I try to make it between notes in the chord. So I move from the 5th to the 3rd or the 5th to the 1st and mess with it. Go through with it. And I often like to use this technique as a home base. I'm sure you could see and hear some of that in what I was playing. Whether you're going to play a lick or just walk between these notes, you can step forward to add a little movement when you want to play the lick, and then find the right note to rest on. And sometimes you're not playing those licks. If a lot's happened and you don't want to do that, and it's still just, this is that bass line that you come back to. It helps you know how to find the right notes for when you're playing those licks. So even just taking this as the starting point, because what we're really doing in all of these is just building up and up. So learn the licks and learn how to stay on singular notes, and then you'll put them together to start licks and end licks. One other short, quick thing to say is be careful if a minor chord comes up, because that 3rd is flat. I'm sure you know a bit about minor chords, and if you're really confused, you can reach out, ask more questions. Maybe I'll need to make a whole video about minor chords on the Dobro. But there are major chords, it's just this triad. And so this is just another basic building block that we can use to play Dobro, to make a lot out of a little, to add what feels almost pointless, but will make a big difference in the sound of the band, in the movement of the music, and can sound so beautiful. So if you like this video, please hit that like button. If it was helpful, leave comments. If you have extra questions or want to see videos about anything, put that in the comments. And if you want to hear more of these videos and to learn more, hit that subscribe button if you're not already. And if you are, thank you for doing so. That keeps me going. So go out, pick wisely, have a good day. Thanks.